was good. Honestly, it was good, and we kind of talked about it last week. It was a chance, just it being so late, to kind of get started on the offseason, but now it's snapping back in because there are 4 games to go, and I think it's important the Patriots do that as well. We talked about that last week, but I think just to reset here as the team gets back on the field, and a reminder, they're out, not West Coast, but in Arizona, West time zone. It is a 4:25 start today, so we're not going right into pregame like we usually do. Pregame will start at 1:30, but with the game, coming up in a little bit here, I do think it's kind of important to reset. Like a lot of the things we talked about last week in practice, we talked about them needing to bounce back off the bye, show some growth. What do we see from the younger players? And that we talked about a lot in the abstract last week, but I think that's what you're looking for here today. It's the beginning of that final push. And when players are evaluated in the NFL, usually, and I don't know how the new front office is going to go about it exactly, but I would imagine it's going to be similar to what most of the league does. The evaluation doesn't weigh games in September the same way it does games in December. Football is a what have you done for me lately sport, through and through. And when they get to the end of the year and they sit down and they have their big meeting or meetings about charting a course for this offseason and what do they need to do, and obviously they need to do a lot, but what's going to be the biggest focus is, which players are they going to build around, which players are they maybe not going to be as eager to retain or give a big role to moving forward. These last 4 games are going to weigh heavily. They're going to weigh a lot more heavily than what we saw in September and October. So today's the push. What are the 2025 Patriots going to look like? Who are the key players going to be? Some of those players are not here right now. They're either on other NFL teams or they're in college. I think one of them maybe got a nice little trophy last night. That will come. But is there anybody on this roster who can carve out a role and say, hey, I need to be in the plans for next year? Or maybe the opposite. Are there any guys we look at through these 4 games that don't finish well and we look at it and say, okay, well, that spot maybe ends up being a bigger need than we thought. So that's a very general overview of it. We'll get into some of the specifics on that as we go through the show. If you have any thoughts on it, you want to join, 617-779-0985. Last week we were actually getting calls. It was the bye week that brought out the calls. So we'll see with a game if people can match that. But just my general thought off the top, like it's game on now. I know people kind of look at these last 4 games and it's like, all right, here we go. Let's get to the offseason. You look at who they're playing, 4 potential playoff teams. Are these games even going to be close? I think today will be close and we'll get into that. But, I know people look at it and it's like, man, just get to the offseason already. But the offseason is somewhat going to be predicated by what happens in these last 4 games. So there is still definitely stuff to watch for.
Yeah, I mean, these are the things where you look at, and we all understand their needs this offseason. We understand what they'll be looking for in the draft and possibly free agency or whatever. And what happens these last 4 games could sway some of those second, third round picks. You're thinking they're going to go one way, but then you look at the last month of the season and let's say they're just getting destroyed at D tackle, and you're looking like, oh, they might need a D tackle a little later in the middle of the draft or something like that. Little small things, and I'm looking to see if you have any situation, anything similar to what happened in San Francisco, where you get guys just quitting and not wanting to play anymore. And that's a good football. Well, the good football team going through their issues, but I want to see how the players respond. They've bought in this far into the season. We're going to be looking at the coaching staff. How are they handling players? How is the play calling going to be as early as today? You had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. How sharp are you going to look? A guy still making bonehead plays, bonehead penalties, and you're looking at, this guy's just not getting it. That guy could be on the hot seat. So there's so many things to look at. There's so many things to look for. And I'm still looking at the growth of Drake May and these other guys around him. So I'm going to be glued into these last 4 games the same way I was the first 4 with this team, and understanding that they're not going anywhere right now, but you're looking at possibly the future of this franchise out there on the field and see who's coming along with them.
So Drake May aside, because obviously Drake May's development is still first and foremost at the top of the list, all of that. Where are you looking for the big picture? Again, we'll get into individual players in a little bit. big picture, where do you want to see the most growth over the last 4 games?
Oh, man. Trenches, man. The trenches. I know Jalen Polk has been getting a lot of conversation and the receivers with Drake May, but I'm looking in the trenches, man. Are they going to be able to this revolving door? I mean, the same conversation.
Run the ball?
It just, yeah. I know. Now they just run the ball, man. It's to the point now. It's not even, you know what, Alex? It's not even after the snap stuff anymore. It's pre-snap. This just guys moving before the snap, holding calls, just lining up right. Little things like that on the offensive line, I think has been a bigger challenge as actually blocking anybody. It's been the penalties. It's been the mistakes, and at the wrong time. You're 3rd and 2. You're in the red zone. You're about to get a chance to score. Oh, holding. Guys not lined up right. Illegal procedure. 2 guys in motion. Little things like that. Clean up the mistakes. Can you be clean at least the last four games of the season with the offensive line? Defensive line, can you stop the run? Can you be strong against the run? Can you get after the quarterback? I know he's kind of gone under the radar. We really haven't got on him a lot, but the start that Keon White got off to compared to where he's ended up now, I think we have to look at him and say, man, how come you weren't as consistent early on as you were, throughout the season? We thought you were going to be Pro Bowl level, and it didn't turn out that way. So I want to see what's happening in the trenches on both sides of the ball with this team.
Some of what you're talking about there as well, I'll just say, piggyback off that, you mentioned getting lined up correctly. The coaching, the operation. Yeah. Can they clean the operation up? Because if that's still a question going into next year, I mean, you don't want to be on square one getting into year 2. You want to be able to kind of take that next step and progress through that and ahead of that. And offensively, I think it's going to be the same coaching staff. Defensively, is DeMarcus Covington back? That's maybe defensive coordinator cleans that up, et cetera, et cetera. Offensively, I think Van Pelt's going to be back. I think the job he's done with Drake May is going to buy him another year. But the operation has to be cleaned up on that side of the ball, plain and simple. So cutting down on penalties, some of the play calling stuff. Boy, it would be great if they can get one more 2-minute drill correct before the end of the year. I think they're 1.5 for 8 at this point. I give them a half for that Jets game because they did kill the clock and they didn't punt the ball back, but ideally you'd like to see them push it, but okay, fine. You had a plan and you executed it. I'll give them some credit for that. Just those things that you talk about being a broken record, that we've been a broken record about all year when it comes to the coaching staff. I think that's the biggest improvement for me, because if you feel better about the operation, okay, well, the players are going to get better. Right, they're going to get better players up front on both sides of the ball. You would hope. You'd hope they're going to go out and add a playmaker. We'll see what happens with T. Higgins. Did you see what T. Higgins did this week? This was an interesting development.
Oh, with the agent picking up the same agent as Jamar Chase or something like that.
Yeah, after what Joe Burrow said last week, to me that's not a guy that's planning on leaving. So now you turn your attention to the trade market. Is DK Metcalf happy in Seattle? I'm not even going to say is A.J. Brown happy in Philly. He's clearly not, but does he become available? Does Philly care that he's not happy? Do they hold on to him? But they're going to have, maybe you go to the draft at that point. You got to figure out left tackle. Garrett Bowles just re-signed. Those offseason pathways are starting to dry up, but if the operation's better, they can bring in talent. And I think that they are going to make more of a push to bring in talent this offseason. So that's what I'm looking for here down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it's with A.J. Brown. Would you? I know he's had his issues with just quarterbacks or whatever. He's going to speak his mind. Is that the kind of guy you'd bring around a young quarterback?
Yeah, we've talked about this. I don't. The whole wide receiver ego thing. I think if you're looking for a star wide receiver that isn't feeling himself, you're going to be looking for a long time. They don't make them like Larry Fitzgerald anymore, right? Yeah. Those guys are few and far between. If you can back it up, I don't mind the talk as a receiver. And the other thing is, I think what he's unhappy about right now is just his lack of involvement. But if you look at what the Eagles' offense is, if you look at what Jalen Hurts does well and doesn't do well, you can understand why. Now, I'd get him more involved, but he doesn't exactly play to the strengths. If you bring him here with Drake May, who wants to throw the ball down the field and, throw 50-50 balls and things like that, In theory,
Yeah.
A.J. Brown is going to thrive with a quarterback like that. So is that to say he'd be perfectly happy here? I don't know. I can't say that. Do I think he would have more of what he's looking for here than he would in Philly at this point? There's also no Devontae Smith on the other side taking targets. Would A.J. Brown have more of what he wants here than he does in Philly? I think you could certainly make an argument for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but you're right. I mean, the ego, the attitude, it's kind of like an NBA kind of thing when it comes to, NFL wide receivers. So yeah, you can get that from a kid you draft too. So you just never know.
Right.
So I just a curious thing, the way that's unfolding, but they have to do something out there. You have to get a playmaker, and it stinks that we're looking at the Patriots rookies in these last 4 games. Like, show us something. You know what I'm saying? The receivers, show us something. So we wouldn't have to be dealing with this another off season, but it looks like that's going to be the case. And there's so many things to be looking at. Pop Douglas, the tight ends, who's going to want to stay around? Even the guys that are performing well. I don't have the free agent list of whose contracts are in front of me, but how many of these guys are going to want to stay here? I know you might want to keep some. We might feel like, man, that's a good guy to keep around. What are you going to do as an organization to make that guy want to stay in New England? And so, there's so many little small storylines with this team that you can get into the last 4 games. But I think for me right now, early on, it's just to see how sharp and see if they are sharp or how crisp they are going in this game against Arizona after having they're finally getting that bye week and getting a chance to reset everything.
There is also, like you mentioned, Jalen Polk, some of these younger players. Can they change the conversation over the final 4 weeks? Let's get into some individual players next. Plus your call, 617-779-0985 here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub. Tune in every Bruins pregame show to hear Bob Beer's interview with head coach.
Like I said earlier, the padded practice was good. Look, we have one more day today before we have to nail down who's active for the roster. But I would say it was good. It was good. But at the same time, we have to recognize he hasn't been out there in pads much at all. And so hopefully it's the growth after that day that we want to see.
That was Gerard Mayo this week on Cole Strange, who will be active this week. Will he be back? So they made it sound like you think Cole Strange, first round pick coming back, will return to the lineup. But maybe not. Mike Reese this morning kind of left that one open-ended in his Sunday notes, which, by the way, if you don't read Mike Reese every Sunday morning, what are you doing? Does a fantastic job through the year, too, through the offseason. Had some good stuff in there about Jacoby Brissett as well. Maybe we can get to in a little bit. But so Reese wrote this morning, Cole Strange said he's been working at center in practice since being designated a return from injured reserve on November 20th. And now the 2022 first-round pick has officially been added to the 53-man roster. The next question is when he could see game action. Ben Brown has been entrenched as the starter, and there are no signs that was changing this week. But Strange will soon be integrated into the mix. So I talked about this much to the chagrin of Jim Murray on Friday on Felger and Mads with my boyish charm, that this is a sneaky, interesting story to me because we talked a lot in the last segment about, all right, which young guys are going to get experience, start to figure things out for next year and beyond. And part of that, and I think what the team wants is Cole Strange an NFL center? Do they need to go out this offseason and expend assets, however significant we can debate, but expend assets and getting the future center in? Even if Andrews comes back next year, you have that guy here with him, working with him, learning from him. Or is Cole Strange that guy, and you can check that box now? That being said, as Mike writes, Ben Brown has been entrenched in at the center. He's been in there. Him and Drake May have chemistry. And I know, chemistry with Ben Brown, what a topic. Do you remember the parade of centers we went through in August that could barely get the ball back to Drake May?
Yep.
So,
let's go back and watch those early preseason games.
that Washington game, my goodness. So the goal number one above all else should be to make things as easy as possible on Drake May right now. And I don't know that changing the center is the answer. I'm curious what Cole Strange looks like. I am. He's a first-round pick. You want him to be a part of the future. Mm-hmm. Can we find out at left guard? They need a guy there, too. And I know that they're fixated on Layden Robinson, who is their highest draft pick besides May, who's actually playing.
Yeah.
But can we put Cole Strange there with Ben Brown, and then you do the center thing in the spring and next summer when you actually have time to learn that instead of doing it on the fly? It's interesting to me. So I had figured they were going to put Strange in at center, but based on what Mike wrote this morning, maybe not, or at least maybe not yet, which good. Like, let Drake May have his center, especially against, you talked before, Cerrone, about the pre-snap stuff, a Cardinals defense that moves around a ton, and the center being crucial in the pre-snap of it all. Let Ben Brown, who's been a center in the NFL, Cole Strange does not handle this game, but just using that as a jumping off point, like, I would like to see Cole Strange and what he brings. I'm most interested when we talk about which players can set the tone for next year. It's the offensive lineman to me. It's Cole Strange, who maybe we won't see today, and then we know we won't see Caden Wallace today. He was ruled out, but when he gets back, I don't know that he can prove he's the left tackle of the right tackle of the future in just what's going to be a maximum of 3 games. But giving you an idea of what you have at that position, I think, is important.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said is key for all of them. Just find out what you have. Find out what Cole Strange can give you. All right, is he going to be here for the future or not? You know what I'm saying? Throw him out there. Not just throw him out there, but put him in a good position where he can succeed, where you think he's comfortable at. See if you can get the best out of him these last few games. And like you said, you check that box off. Okay, we're not worried about that anymore. We're good here. They need offensive line depth. We've said this for the last couple of years now. So if he's on board with that, if he fits in your game plan and, he's doing his job, then you're good to, you're good to go at that position. Now, I agree with you. I'm not switching up my center now these last 4 games of the season, and you're playing good teams. You know what I'm saying? It's the Cardinals is the worst you get. It's the worst team you're going to get the rest of the way. Your only saving grace is you might get the Bills on that last game of the season, and they might be either trying to position themselves for a different playoff spot or nothing to play for at all. So, but other than that, I'm not switching up anything that's going to make it hard on my quarterback. I don't want this kid getting hurt. I don't want the rhythm of timing being off if someone steps on his ankle or something crazy like that. No fumbling snaps, nothing. And the weather's probably going to be nasty the last few games of the season as well, except for today. But, I mean, I'm not changing anything there, so I'm going to stick with Brown the rest of the way. But I am going to find a way to get Strange on the field and find out if this dude's coming along for the ride for the rest of the way, along with my rookie lineman that I got out there that I just used, good draft stock on, just draft capital on to get these guys in here. So I got to find if my rookies can play and my earlier first round pick, lineman out there in Strange, see if these guys can play and see if they're coming along. And like you said, if these guys are solid, not saying you're not going to add anybody else in the future, but you're good to go if these guys can play. You just got to add a couple pieces here or there as opposed to bringing in a whole new offensive line because they just can't get it done.
What other young guys are you looking for over these Final Four games? I know you mentioned, we won't see Javon Baker today. He's dealing with that concussion.
He was one of them.
I know you mentioned the receivers earlier.
Yeah, I did, and I wanted to see Baker play. I was high on Baker coming off a training camp preseason. Not high. I wanted to see him play. I was excited to see him play. You saw the play. You mentioned the Washington game, the deep pass. I think it was the Washington game, the deep pass that he dropped. And you're like, oh, the potential could be there for this guy to be a big play guy. And it just hasn't happened all season. And it hasn't happened at all for Polk. And I see Van Pelt mention something we talked about weeks ago, whereas Polk, it seems like a lot of his issues were, tied to not being right mentally, like just being out of it, like losing his confidence and not being able to get it back, not being the same edgy guy he was earlier in coming out of camp and coming in the first month of the season, and seeing if he can get that back. And I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, but you're out there you're going to get a chance to see Marvin Harrison out there. You're going to get a chance to see Lad McConkey and against with the Chargers. Then you're going to see Coleman, the other rookie for the Bills. You're going to see these guys that were taken, not to say around him, but in the same class these last 4 games, and it's going to stink to watch these guys rack up stats, and this kid's not giving you anything. So I want to see if Polk just shows you something, is just involved and not making the small mistakes and taking himself off the field because he's just not getting it done.
I'll give you one other position I'm interested in watching starting today. And this is, we're going to nerd out here for 2 minutes, so get ready. Hold on tight. Patriots brought in a kicker this week. John Parker Romo, who did a good job filling in Minnesota earlier this year, was a good kicker in the UFL a few years ago, or XFL a few years ago. Joey Sly's missed 3 of his last 6 kicks. Missed that 25-yarder last week. Did not have a great reaction to it when he did. Are the Patriots gearing up for next year's kicker battles? John Parker Romo here to sign a futures deal and compete with Sly or a rookie, or Sly and a rookie next year. On top of that, Cardinals kicker is Chad Ryland. So, how much added pressure is that? I don't know, but it's Sly against the guy he beat, with a new guy coming for his job now, looking over his shoulder in this game. After missing a bad kick last week, and look, it was too much of an ass for him to hit 68 yards, but after missing a bad kick and a game-winning field goal. So you got to have a short memory as a kicker. You got to be able to block out the noise. He's on an expiring contract, so maybe he's not here next year either way, but that's a guy that's competing for his job here or elsewhere, and there's a lot to mentally process today for him. I'm curious to see what he does today.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come down to a situation where he has to make that kick. It seems to me he's better at making the distance kicks under pressure than he is the ones that should be money. But, I mean, he almost hit that kick, too. That's
did.
Bananas. That would have been amazing if he would have made that kick. But, I mean, I didn't think he was going to get close, and I'm watching it like, wait a minute now, hold on. That thing looks good. And it was just short, but it's been one of the great special team plays of all time. But, yeah, he's going to be looking over his shoulder, as he should be. He's struggling to be consistent, and it's one of those things. No one pays attention to the kicking game until you lose one, until you lose a game.
Right.
And until you lose a few games. And now you're worried about every single thing, extra points, gimme kicks, Drake May goes downfield. Yep, we're a field goal away from tying this thing up, extra point. He misses it. You got to have that confidence in. Look, even Baltimore, they're going through that now with we thought was a Hall of Fame kicker up until this season, and now their late game situations are totally different because their kicker situation is not right. Kansas City just got their kicker back. So little things like that we don't pay attention to a lot as fans. But you're absolutely right; they're very important. It's going to be, I think, it's going to be huge today. It would be wild to watch Ryland make the game-winning kick or something like that. It just from 55 yards away or something crazy like that. But I think it is an interesting development when it comes to this Patriots team. And something else just got to add to this team going into the next season.
Quick kicker minute. There you go. We can move on. I do want to talk about Drake May and his matchup today and revisit the draft conversation from last year because feels like an appropriate point to do so. So we'll do that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
Billy Jaffe here. takes it, stepping inside the left pie, making Hooper. Austin Hooper with a catch and a touchdown for New England. Hooper steps inside the pylon with a throw that out of the hand of May was sailing in direction of Polk, and it's Hooper who darts in, makes the catch, and the Patriots regain the lead.
The development of your young quarterback is back on here, and this is a tight window to throw this ball into. Jalen Polk's got to keep going. He's got to take that outside defender. Don't stop at the goal line. You almost made it a play for the tight end. Great job by Hooper to go get this ball where May puts it up nice and high. It's a great read by Drake May.
Back here on Sports Sub Sunday Kickoff, you want to join us, 617-779-0985. You ready for a little victory lap here, Cerrone?
Go ahead, man.
with the Patriots playing the Cardinals, and you actually brought this up when we were talking about what to talk about today. With Drake May and Marvin Harrison on the field together, third and fourth overall picks. And this was a topic of regular debate this offseason. What should the Patriots do? And, oh, by the way, they played Joe Alt again in 2 weeks. So
yeah, another rookie.
Maybe we get to do this again then. So I've seen a lot of people. Look, let me say this. Elliot Wolf deserves his fair share of criticism for the way the season has gone. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I actually think some of what is being put on Mayo should be directed to Wolf. I think we're so used to the coach being knocked for personnel moves because the coach was the GM. Bill Belichick was the GM, so it just
it's not the case no more.
Right, exactly. Elliot Wolf needs to have a better offseason this year, period, full stop, right? Like, they need to be more aggressive in free agency. They have to have more hits in the draft, all of that. Mm-hmm. I have seen people in that conversation say, and you can't even give him credit for Drake May. Well, yeah, it was obvious. It was an obvious pick, Drake May. He doesn't get credit for that.
It wasn't so obvious.
We took way too many calls about Marvin Harrison Jr. to say that was obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what they should do, Barth? I'm the only person that thought of this. Draft Marvin Harrison and then draft Joe Milton. Like, how many times did we take that call?
Oh, man, Spencer Rattler,
right? Like,
get Bo Nix in the second round.
Right. Oh, Bo Nix. Remember Michael Penix at 34?
Yeah.
Went 8th.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy, another one. Get J.J. McCarthy in the second round. We heard them all.
You can get Michael Penix at 34 and you'll be fine. Like, no. I asked this to you, Cerrone, kind of hypothetically, because I know you were on board with Drake May, but if anybody else wants to chime in, 617-779-0985. Look, Harrison is having a good season. He's good. Solid. 45 catches, 655 yards, 7 touchdowns. The Patriots would absolutely take that kind of wide receiver production. Most certainly. Are you having buyer's remorse as a Patriots fan? Do you wish they'd gone with Marvin Harrison and the second-tier quarterback? My answer is obviously a resounding no, but I think it is interesting as we hit this point to kind of talk about that. A lot of what I had said at the time, I think, is just borne out. Like, let's say they had Harrison, and it's Jacoby Brissett, and look, they weren't getting Bo Nix later. Like, you weren't trading down and getting Harrison. And getting Harrison. So you would have had to pick him at 3. So now, okay, you're not going to get Nix because you're not going to be picking high enough. Mm-mm. You're not going to get Penix. You're not picking high enough.
J.J. McCarthy gone.
You're not getting J.J. McCarthy. So if Marvin Harrison was here, he had 700 yards, which would make him the Patriots' leading receiver. But it was Jacoby Brissett and Spencer Rattler, or Jacoby Brissett and another veteran, right? Like Jimmy Garoppolo, some people wanted back, guys like that. Would you feel as good about the team now? Because Marvin Harrison wouldn't be elevating anything.
No.
It would all be, all right, well, how are we going to get somebody to maximize this guy? And we'd be talking about Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders. Mm-hmm. And I like both of those guys. I actually think Cam Ward is slept on. I was talking to Kyle during the break about the draft and where these guys are going to go. And, is Cam Ward worth the massive trade-up package? I think he is. But neither one of them are Drake May. I don't think either of them are close.
No.
So it's just kind of to revisit that. And I guess my question to you, Cerrone, is this. Instead of the buyer's remorse thing, my question to you is this. What lessons did we learn by that you think we can apply forward to the draft this year?
I mean, it's the lesson learned. I won't say lesson learned, but we saw the Hard Knocks footage with the Giants and them begging Elliott Wolf for that pick and him sticking to it like, no, we're going to take our quarterback. Now, was it him? Was it ownership? We don't know. But when you have the talent right there in front of you, you don't overlook it. You don't put it off until later. Now, we'll get a guy later because it changes your entire organization. Think about this. If you would have taken Marvin Harrison or even the left tackle, any one of those are all things that we heard on this show and every other show. Take the tackle. You need a tackle. Get your quarterback later, a receiver, whatever. A lot of people was get a quarterback later because a lot of them bust in the first round. They mostly bust. Get you a good. It's like, well, left tackles and receivers bust too.
Right,
but,
and those late round quarterbacks historically have just done amazing.
Yeah, they've been magnificent.
How's Brock Purdy doing now that he doesn't have
the all-pro lineup
around him? Yeah.
They took in the Madden settings and put it on rookie.
How's Kyle Shanahan doing too, for that matter, without the Monstars?
Exactly. So, I mean, think about this. If you'd have took it, I keep doing this, I'm sorry. Marvin Harrison. You think Mayo's job is in jeopardy now? Mayo's job would be in jeopardy, I believe.
Wolf's too.
Elliott Wolf is gone.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Van Pelt the same way because there's no quarterback to develop. So he's probably gone. Look at the way we was looking at AVP when it was Brissett, when they couldn't get downfield to do anything. They couldn't score. They was like, what are they doing? It doesn't look right. All of a sudden, this quarterback comes in. We're praising him for his development. They look like an offense. You wouldn't have had that moment this season for Van Pelt. He's probably really gone. So it changes. It would have changed everything if you would have took Marvin Harrison or Roma Dunze, whose name came up a lot, and tried to get a Spencer Rattler, who's now on the bench, I think, for the Saints.
He's Hayner starting over him.
Yeah, I mean, and he had his opportunity. Carr goes down, so okay, Rattler's our guy. And we all watched that. I think it was the Thursday night game. We're like, what is going on here? And it was him against Bo Nix. It was a really ugly game. But your whole season is completely thrown away if you would have, gone with the receiver or probably a left tackle. Not saying the left tackles aren't good, but it wouldn't have helped the situation that's here in Foxborough right now the way Drake May would have. Now, if the choice was between Drake May and Daniels and that type of stuff, yeah, I understand that. But if you would have gone with the receiver, and who's to say Marvin Harrison has 40 catches and 700 yards if he's playing with Jacoby Brissett in this offense? A lot of that is Kyler Murray making things happen out of nowhere, playing in a dome out there in Arizona. So, I mean, everything would have looked completely different, and I think everybody probably would have been fired. They might have stuck with Mayo because that's their guy going forward, but I think everything around him would have been gone, and it would have been an easy decision to make if you would have gone with Marvin Harrison.
So Pop Douglas has a few more catches than Harrison. Hunter Henry's Patriots' leading receiver, but for wide receivers, right? Handful more catches, 7 more catches, but like 150 fewer yards. And they play different positions. Like that's, Douglas is going to average fewer yards per catch. He's more of a volume guy. But no, I think we'd be looking at it and saying, well, you drafted the receiver and there's nobody to get him the ball. And what good does that do? Now, I was somebody, again, are we going to do this exercise again with Joe Alt in 2 weeks? Maybe. I was somebody that was saying if you're not going quarterback, I wanted Alt over Harrison. I wanted the tackle over the receiver. But that, and it's not, I don't mean this to knock Marvin Harrison. I really don't. I think he's a tremendous player. It's just, you had to get the quarterback first. You had to get the quarterback when you were in that position. And my lesson learned moving forward is you don't need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
You really, don't overthink it. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right answer. And we don't know yet what the simplest answer is for the Patriots in this draft. We don't know where they'll be picking. Will Campbell's arm length is a major variable that is going to need to we're going to need to find out. We'll get that end of February, beginning of March, whenever linemen measuring at the combine. But I think sometimes Drake May was always the simplest answer. And it doesn't mean, look, I'm not saying, to go back to the point on top, I'm not saying Elliott Wolf did anything revolutionary. He didn't. Say it was an obvious pick. It was the simplest pick. It made the most sense. I took too many calls on Marvin Harrison to not take a little victory lap today.
Oh no, you take two. Take 2 laps.
Too many calls. Well, the second lap comes in 2 weeks when the Chargers come here with Joe Alt. So, although that sounds like we might be doing a post game for that one. Reese said this morning that game might get flexed to Saturday.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess Drake may give him the national spotlight, but yeah, we might be doing post game for that one. So that'll be fun. We got a couple more weeks before we get to that one, though. There is one more quick detour here. One other thing from the week I want to talk about: Patriots adjacent. Bill Belichick has his new job. Cerrone, I think it's going to impact you directly as much as anybody up here. We'll get into that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Get on up and get on.
you might leave for the NFL again in a year or two?
Yeah, I didn't come here to leave.
It's real. That was North Carolina Tar Heels head football coach Bill Belichick at his introductory press conference. And he's getting the full college football experience. Like, it's been funny seeing people up here who don't follow college react to some of this stuff, like the cheering in the press conference. That's what happens in college football. Doesn't happen in the NFL. And you could say it's right or wrong one way or the other. That's what happens in college football. He was at halftime of the game last night.
Yep.
They brought him out.
and his 4-star quarterback.
I don't know. Is he going to do a call-in show? Is he going to do a coach's show?
There is a thing they do on the ACC network, I believe, every week. So, yeah, he's probably going to be on there.
So it's Kyle just pointed out he's still doing McAfee. So maybe McAfee is his coach's show. It'd be the biggest, highest profile coach's show in the nation. But I want Tyler from Spartansburg to call in and talk to Phil. But look, I talked about this on Friday with McCarthy and Jim Murray that, they're talking about what, how did Bill get here and all of that. And I understand that. And I do think it is unfortunate. I think Bill would rather be coaching in the league. I do believe that. And it would be interesting to see him in the league. I don't know. My thing is, like, since we're here, can I not be interested in what this looks like? And
Absolutely.
I'm fascinated by it. And I admit I'm coming from this, approaching this from a unique perspective. But I think Bill, we never get to see some of these greats out of their element like this. Like, you talk to basketball fans, Coach K, like, people always said, what would Coach K have been like in the NBA? Would he have worked? Some people say he was the greatest coach of all time. Other people say no, his style would have never worked with professionals. And you go from talking about, look, Bill Belichick's the greatest coach in NFL history. Mm-hmm. Is he the greatest coach in football history? History of the sport? Where does he rank among, like, Saban and Bear Bryant and, some of these guys? There's that rarefied club of national championship and a Super Bowl. It's Pete Carroll, Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, 3 very good coaches. Now, I don't know that any of them are better than Bill, but you get my point. Like, I'm just interested in what happens from here. And maybe he does jump back to the NFL. I didn't come here to leave is quite the line. But if the opportunity presents itself, I could certainly see him jumping back to the NFL. But I'm genuinely curious in what this looks like. I really am. So, and look, you're down there. You're in North Carolina, so we'll be on this. I don't know how closely everybody else is going to do it. We'll probably do it. We usually take this 50 to the top of the hour segment to do. It was our the Dynasty when that was rolling. We would do our reaction to the Dynasty in this. Or we usually do this to do some immediate Patriots related story. This is probably going to be our North Carolina football segment next year. Like, I'm invested in this.
Yeah, you are now, and everybody's acting like they won't be. It's going to be a big deal come week 1 next year.
Bill Belichick's putting a football team on the field. That to me is inherently interesting wherever it is.
It's going to be a big deal nationally. It's going to be a big deal in New England. And I was joking around with Leroy yesterday. Imagine come next year, I think hopefully next year, not next season after, because we already, I think, got the schedules out. That first time Belichick comes to Chestnut Hill,
I don't think that's for like 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's a couple years away, but that would be amazing to me to see. I think it would be the biggest game of the weekend. I don't care who else is playing. That'd be a big deal, and it'd be packed out up there. But it is a big deal. It's a big deal in college football. It's a big deal for the ACC, not just North Carolina. Wherever he goes is going to be a packed stadium. It's going to be, and if they're successful, you already had a couple guys who said they were entering the transfer portal, changed their mind. All the defensive guys said, no, I think we're going to stay.
I think one of the offensive linemen did too.
Yeah. And you had the quarterback who they were saying, are you going to transfer? He's a North Carolina kid. He said, nope, I'm staying. And that's the one he was out there on the court with yesterday. But Look, it's going to be a big deal. I think they're going to be successful pretty early because of the transfer portal and the insane boost in the NIL money, which I'm hearing is actually higher than what they're reporting. But we'll find out. Yeah, I think we're word on the street. So it's a little more than that 20 that they're putting out there. But it's going to change rapidly. And look, how successful will he be? I don't know. But when it comes to down here, they're looking at it beyond the wins and losses. They're looking at it on the economic impact. A packed stadium, a packed Franklin Street, with the UNC hospital, and they're trying to merge them with Duke hospitals with a train system that runs back and forth. And it's just, we all know the economic impact of having superstar players in smaller cities and smaller towns and what it does. We've seen it with Colorado, with Deion Sanders. He changed the economy in that area. And, UNC athletics being a big deal in North Carolina is a huge hit financially. It's a state institution in the middle of the triangle, and it's just it's a money area. You got Google and you got Apple coming to the same area within a year or two. So they're looking at the economic boost, and you throw Bill Belichick on top of that. And you know what's coming next. You follow college football. With NC State being down the street, they're going to boost their NIL money. So now it's in order for them to compete. Oh yeah, you got Belichick. Well, watch what we do. They're going to do something crazy. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm interested to see it, but I think this is going to be really successful for college football. And if he finds a way to get into that playoff, the ratings are going to be through the roof to see if Bill Belichick can win a national championship. So I'm excited to see it to see what happens and how long it takes for them to be a really dominant team. And it's not going to be that hard to win the ACC. We just saw what just happened. They can get in the playoff easily.
As far as the ACC goes, and now they'll have to win the conference championship, but as far as the ACC goes, they have an easy schedule.
They got it. It's there. It's right in front of them.
And I cannot. So this is part of what I'm interested in, like getting to see Bill. I think some of the best minds in the game are in college now, not the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Dabo Swinney is one of the best minds in the game. I think he's massively overrated. But I cannot wait for Bill to expose him for that. But then, when he gets in the playoff, especially against some of these offensive coaches that might be there, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin. I don't think Lincoln Riley's making the playoff, but that kind of guy, we never would have seen Bill against those sorts of offensive minds. And now we might get to see it. So that to me is going to be fascinating. That to me is going to be a ton of fun. So I know a lot of people here are just, how Bill has fallen, blah, blah, blah. Because, look, there's people that follow just college football. There's people that follow just the NFL. And if that's what you do, it's fun.
So be it, yeah.
I think the majority of football fans, true football fans, follow both and don't think much of it. The people who just follow college football, they'll just tell you, the NFL, it's not for me. They don't make that big of a deal of it.
Yeah.
The people who only follow the NFL love to tell you they only follow the NFL. They love to tell you, college football. Ugh. College football, what are you watching that for? Inferior product. It's a joke. It's unsincere, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think college football needed the validation from Bill Belichick, but in their eyes, this gives it a ton of validation they never wanted it to get. So, and I know a lot of people are just focused on the annoyance of college football showing up in their NFL storylines, and I'm so sorry that had to happen to you. But for people who actually want to hear about Bill at UNC and what that's going with, how that's going, we'll have that. We'll have that here. This show is going to do that.
And I tell you one thing: if you're a Patriots fan, we've said this last week. These guys you're watching play are the guys that you're potentially going to be signing to your teams.
Oh,
wouldn't you want a Bill Belichick middle linebacker that was coached up by a 4-star, 5-star linebacker coached by Bill Belichick? Yes, you want to draft that kid.
The debate about will they or won't they draft Bill Belichick players next year is going to be wild. I don't know which side of it I'm going to fall on. Honestly, I got to see what it looks like. But
yeah, that's going to be interesting. And I'm not joking when I say this. For those who are saying I don't care about college football, this college football playoff is going to shatter ratings.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Going to dominate TV, so get ready for it.
It's going to be awesome. We'll get more into that next week because we'll have the first round of games to react to. I guess we're running long here, but I guess while we're on it, quick thought on Travis Hunter winning the Heisman.
Yeah, I thought he should have gotten it. And real quick, just the idea of, Charles Woodson played it. It's not the first time we've seen it. Gamble, Champ Bailey. He has as many catches as they did their whole college careers combined this season. Charles Woodson had 21 catches as a receiver. He has 92 this season. when you make both coordinators have to stay up all night to a game plan for you, I think you're a Heisman candidate. I think you should have won it and well deserving. I thought this kid is phenomenal, man. I can't wait to see him on the next level.
I would have voted for Genty personally. Mm-hmm. I just think the historical context of what he and what Travis Hunter did is historic as well. But I would have voted for Genty just to see the numbers he put up and the fact that he had that big game against Oregon.
Yeah, and they knew he was the only one getting the ball.
Right, is what tells me. You look at, he's the leading rusher in the nation if you only take his yards after contact.
Yeah.
It's insane. So
that's phenomenal.
I would have voted for him. I think he would have won it most other years, but I'm not going to sit here and say Travis Hunter's undeserving. He's absolutely deserving. It was. Yeah. They said last night it was the closest margin since 2009, as it should have been. Yeah. They should have only sent 2 guys. I'm sorry, Dylan Gabriel and I like Cam Ward. Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward. Free trip to New York. Hope they enjoyed it. They didn't need to go last night.
If Cam Ward would have lit up Syracuse and won that game, he might have got way more love.
If Miami had gone undefeated, I think he would have been more in a conversation. I would have sent Scatabo.
Yes.
I would have sent Cam Scatabo over Dylan Gabriel.
If that dude is heading to the NFL draft and he's sitting there in the 2nd or 3rd round, I'm going to be watching closely. He is a stud, man.
Cerrone, he's going to be there in like the 5th and 6th.
He's a stud.
He is. We're going to talk a lot of Cam Scatabo on this show. I guess since we're over already, real quick, one more time. Who do you got in the college football playoff?
I have no idea, man. I don't know what's going on. You know my sneaky pick?
Who?
A sneaky pick that nobody's talking about. Indiana? I want to see win it is Notre Dame.
You want to see Notre Dame win it?
I actually want to see them win it. I want to see them... Just because of them not being in a conference, all the drama behind. That's why I want to see them win.
I want to see them lose to Indiana. Yeah, out of here.
That's a good game, man. I want to see that in the snow.
Ohio State's. That's going to be a fun game. Ohio State's been my pick since the summer, and my whole take was I think they have enough talent to win in spite of Ryan Day. If I said they didn't win it, it was going to be because of Ryan Day. After that Michigan game, I'm very tempted to go Oregon, but I'm going to stick to my guts. I'm going to say Ohio State. Because it would also be funny if, they win the national championship despite horrible coaching, and now they can't fire Ryan Day, something like that. So, all right, quick check of the headlines here. We're way behind, and then we go around the NFL Week 15. 90 seconds, no commercials here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass.
Yes.
98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Patriots are back from the bye week this afternoon. They take on the Arizona Cardinals. It's a 7:25 West Coast kickoff. Pregame coverage begins at 1:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Elsewhere around the NFL today, in the 1 o'clock window, the Dolphins take on the Texans. Game of the week is at 4:25 with the Bills visiting the Lions. Sunday Night Football tonight has the Packers visiting the Seahawks. Army-Navy yesterday in D.C. It was Navy coming away with a 31-13 win. The midshipmen sung second. Colorado's Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy over Ashton Genty. It was the closest margin since 2009. The Celtics are back in action today. They visit the Washington Wizards. Coverage starts at 5:30 on our sister station 105.7 WROR and the Celtics Radio Network. The NBA Cup final is set. The Bucks will take on the Thunder. Both of those teams won yesterday. And the Bruins picked up a 5-1 win over the Vancouver Canucks last night. It was a 4-point game from David Pastrnak. He had a goal and 3 assists. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle are here, talking football every Sunday morning with the insiders and with you. It's Sunday Kickoff on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Pick a target.
You pick it.
Take your pick.
Pick me! Pick me! I did not pick. There was no pick.
Pick him up. You pick him up.
Pick.
I pick.
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Pick the teams.
Pick one, jerk.
All right, we're already well behind, and there's no bye weeks. We got a full slate, so let's get right to it here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Alex Barth, Cerrone battle, Kyle Fabrizio behind the glass. We'll start with the Thursday night game, Rams and Niners.
The first thing I told Coop was, I was like, man, I was a little horny in my route.
That was Puka Nacua. Kyle likes the horned up sound bites back there. He told me we got some new ones this week, so I'm excited. Rams win this one 12-6. Let me know when I can start talking about Kyle Shanahan. Just let me know.
You should have been talking about him, man. I mean, hey.
Well, let me rephrase that. Let me know when I can talk about him without everybody getting annoyed. Because I've been talking about him for 2 years now. But let me know. Yeah. Let me know when y'all are ready to have the conversation.
Didn't you have him last year in the conversation with Marvin Lewis?
Last year, still do.
That's a good comparison.
Well, no, it was Marv Levy last year. Remember we did that whole thing leading up to the Super Bowl?
Yeah. 4 straight.
I did this with Jim and McCarthy on Friday. We settled on Dan Reeves.
That's a good one.
That's the comp.
Dan Reeves. Hey, man, look, you can't. With the teams he's had, the players he's had around him, this man should have a handful of Super Bowls by now. But, I mean, it is what it is. You're only great when you got a bunch of all-pros. And I think you talk about hot seat, I think he should be squarely on it. I'm sorry.
And now that window is closing. All right, let's get to today. The 5-8 Cowboys at the 3-10 Panthers.
And so, having said that, I want me some glory hole.
There you go, Kyle. Right back to playing the hits. This is the first time the Panthers are favored in like over 2 years, right? I think it's 33 games, and of course,
33 or 34 games. Yeah,
the Dallas Cowboys. Panthers 3.5-point favorites at home.
I still might take the Cowboys. I think the Panthers play it close. And I just think the Cowboys have a couple playmakers that might get a play for them today. I'm going to take the Cowboys in a close one.
I'll take the Panthers. This is just a joke year for the Cowboys. And to be the first team that's an underdog against the Panthers in that long, I feel like they're going to lose it. That's just been the vibe all season. 12-1 Chiefs at the 3-10 Browns.
Like, I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes.
How's Jameis Winston? Chiefs 4.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs will win this one. I don't think Jameis is even starting this week. So yeah, give me the Chiefs in this one. I'm never going to say Chiefs win big. Chiefs in a close one. It's been that way all season.
That's going to be a shame. We don't get Jameis Winston against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think they said he's not. They're starting somebody else, if I'm not mistaken.
Looks like he's playing. But,
okay.
And I want to see Jameis versus Patrick Mahomes. I said it last week. I'm going to say it every week. I'm just going to take, unless it's like a half-point spread, I'm going to take the Browns to cover because it's going to come down to the last play and some nonsense, and the Chiefs will win by 1 or 2.
And Judy's been lighting it up, too, by the way. He's been on fire. But, yeah, give me the Chiefs.
So, Chiefs to win, Browns to cover. This is probably the best game in the early window here. 6-7 Dolphins at 8-5 Texans.
I think tomorrow, there's a birthday tomorrow. There's a player's birthday. I should announce that.
Oh, once we get done with Shanahan, he's next. he's next on my watch.
This could be the nail in the coffin today.
I think I said earlier this year he was next after Brandon Staley. Shanahan's like its own thing because he's a good coach. He's just not the way he's talked about. No, it's still Mike McDaniel. He just bugs me. Anyway, his team's 3.5-point underdogs going to Houston.
It's going to be a good game. I can't wait to watch this one. But give me the Texans like 24-21 or something like that. But give me the Texans in the close one.
I'll take Texans to cover. I think it's a good back and forth, but I will take the Texans to cover. You ready for this one, Cerrone? 3-10 Jets at 3-10 Jaguars.
I can do a little bit of rapping.
Surprise, surprise, lowest total of the week, 40.5 points. The Jags, as Kendra Middleton walks in the building, 3.5-point underdogs at home against the Jets.
Yeah, give me the Jets in this one. I think Breece Hall's coming back, so just on that alone, with them being able to kind of run the ball a little bit, I think the Jets still have more talent here, and they're going to win this game. And I don't think the Jags are trying to win anything at this point.
Come on, Cerrone. We know there's one thing Mac Jones does, and that's beat the New York Jets.
Beat the Jets?
Mac Jones, he shows up against the Jets. I don't think he lost to them when he was here. Because that last game they lost, remember they didn't even just bench him, they inactivated him. Give me the Jags, upset winners. Mac Jones, he beats the Jets. He does that. You can't say that about Mac Jones.
I have a question about the Jets. We'll get to the next segment, but we'll get to them in a minute.
8-5 Commanders at 5-8 Saints.
Go home and play Pokemon. Yeah, Pokemon. Yeah. Don't do that. You can't disrespect Pokemon like that. Pokemon.
Commanders been slipping. But they're 7.5-point favorites on the road. Saints going with Jake Haener starting this one.
Yeah, so Spencer Rattler. But give me the Commanders. I think this is going to be the biggest blowout of the weekend. I think the Commanders beat these dudes by 3 touchdowns.
I like the Commanders. I don't know about that much, but it's a great bounce-back spot. Give me the Commanders. 8-5 Ravens at 2-11 Giants. We got one for this?
Big trust. Woo woo. Lamar Jackson in the flesh.
So I feel like we get one of these every week. So this is the biggest line of the week. And usually the biggest line, like 9.5, maybe get to 10.5. But I feel like this 3 or 4 weeks in a row now where we've had to say, you don't get this line in the NFL.
It's college line.
This is a college line, and they get bigger every week. 16.5 points.
Yeah. My bad. This might be the biggest blowout.
So you're taking 16.5 for Baltimore?
Yeah, I think this is probably the biggest blowout of the weekend. The Ravens, they're going to take out all their frustrations on this Giants team in every way possible.
So every week we get to this big line the last 3 weeks, and I've taken the underdog because you don't get lines this big in the NFL, and I think I've been right. And this is the biggest one yet. I think the Ravens are that good. 16.5 on the road in the NFL. It's nuts, but give it to me. 5-8 Bengals at 3-10 Titans.
Called you up on That's one full Batmobile every game.
The Bengals sneaky aren't out of it in the AFC wildcard picture. They're going to need a win out. They might need a little bit of help, but they got that win last week against the Cowboys. Come in with momentum. 5.5-point favorites on the road against the bad Titans team.
They lose this game, somebody's getting fired in Cincinnati. They should win this game. They should cover that 5.5. Their offense has been explosive. They got probably the best edge rusher in the AFC. So, yeah, I mean, the Bengals should win this game and should win handily, but I don't trust them at all, man. They got 8 losses for a reason.
I'm going to take the Bengals to cover that. Again, I just don't think Tennessee Titans very good. Will Levis had his little heater. That's over. On to the 4 o'clock window. We'll get back to Patriots, Cardinals in a bit. But let's go to the 6-7 Colts at 8-5 Broncos.
In the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
Hey, Quinn, what's up, man? Colts 4.5-point underdogs going to Denver in the Peyton Manning Bowl.
Yeah, give me the Broncos at home. Dome team going up there this time of year. I don't think it's a good look. Broncos have been playing decent football. They're doing all the simple things well. So give me the Broncos to win this game.
I couldn't believe less in Bo Nix, but that defense is real. And this is
offensive line too.
Offensive line too. And this is the time of year where those things show up. I think Denver, I wouldn't want to play Denver right now, even with that quarterback. So give me the Broncos to cover 4.5. Game of the week. 10-3 Bills at 12-1 Lions.
We'll play anywhere. We'll play on grass. We'll play on turf. We'll go to landfill.
They're going to play them on the turf in Detroit. Indoors, 54.5, highest total of the week. Lions 2.5-point favorites.
If the Bills win this game, I think Josh Allen's MVP. I think he locks it up if he wins this game. And depends on his performance too, but I think this is an opportunity for him to steal it. With that being said, I think the Lions are just too balanced, and they do just enough to beat the Bills. This is all on Goff today. If Goff has to he has to match what Josh Allen puts out today. If he doesn't, they'll lose that game. I'm going to get the Lions at home in a really close, good game.
Bills don't need a win for Josh Allen's MVP odds to go up, as we saw last week. Did they even lose that game the way people were talking about Josh Allen afterwards? I mean,
6 touchdowns.
Matthew Stafford played 2, folks, and his team won, by the way. I have the Lions in this one. Let's cool it off with the 7-6 Bucks at 8-5 Chargers.
Reminded of Sir Andrew Barton. Quite how many men Sir Andrew said, I'm a little wounded but not slain. I'll lay down and bleed a while, and we'll rise and fight again.
Is that Harbaugh? Of course it was. Chargers 3.5-point favorites at home, indoors.
Yeah, give me the Chargers in this one. I think they're pretty good. If they get McConkey back this week, I think that makes them a little more balanced. And I think the Chargers can win this game this week. So give me the Chargers at home in a boring, low-scoring game.
Bucks aren't the same team they were at the beginning of the year. Give me the Chargers. 10-3. This is another really good game. 10-3 Steelers at 11-2 Eagles.
You know, I can't give you all the ingredients to the hot dog. You might not like it.
Eagles 5.5-point favorites at home against the Steelers.
Man, if Russell Wilson was playing a few weeks earlier, he could be in MVP conversation. The way he's turned this team around. Look, the Steelers, they just got something going right now. I don't know what it is. The quarterback play has been good. They're good, well-coached defensive team as well. Give me the Steelers here. I wouldn't even call it an upset. Give me the Steelers over the Eagles.
I think the Steelers cover. I think this comes down to the final play. I think the Eagles win it, home field advantage, and that team's just clicking right now. I am a little worried they try to force the ball to A.J. Brown too much, though. But I'll take the Eagles. Give me the Eagles to win in a comeback. Win close in a comeback. I'll put that qualifier on it. Sunday Night Football, 9-4 Packers and 8-5 Seahawks.
When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get.
Oh, we got that one. I was hoping for the Matt Hasselbeck will take the ball. We're going to score. The Al Harris pick six. I saw Games with Names said they want to do that game. I'll listen. That's one of my favorite games of all. I have a very vivid memory watching that game. I had a ton of fun watching that game. Anyway, Packers. Al Harris's Packers 2.5 point. Although he's coaching somewhere else now, so I shouldn't say Al Harris's Packers. Packers 2.5 point favorites on the road.
It's a good game. I want to see what the Seahawks do in this one. They've been kind of surprising the way they've kind of hung around. I'm going to take the Seahawks at home in this one. I think the Seahawks are good enough to win this game, and I think the Packers kind of make some mistakes here that kind of cost them. Give me the Seahawks to win at home.
I actually picked against Al Harris. He's the defensive backs coach and assistant head coach of the Cowboys. So,
okay.
But
a good place to be right now.
I'll take Seattle at home. Prime time. That team's starting to play well after a midseason lull there. Give me the Seahawks. We got 2 Monday night games this week. That's right. We're still going here. 4-9 Bears at 11-2 Vikings.
So what you're saying is, Coach, we can't plan a parade because Caleb was so accurate in the preseason.
Well, it wasn't accurate. He's 10 for 20.
Well, Bill might have been on to something there. Vikings 7.5 point favorites.
Oh, man. The Vikings, the Vikings over the Bears in this one. Big time. And, I don't see this one being close. This is a bad spot for poor Caleb Williams and that team. I don't want to face that defense right now in Minnesota. So, give me them in a blowout.
I actually think this is going to be close. Divisional game. They played to overtime a couple weeks ago when they met. Vikings win, but give me the Bears to cover 7.5. I think it's a one-score game. And then the other Monday night game, the 6-7 Falcons at the 2-11 Raiders.
Walk into your trap, take over your trap.
That's what Kirk Cousins will try to be doing as the Raiders try to hold on to that high draft pick. Falcons 4.5 point favorites going into Vegas.
Man, Atlanta better win this game. They have to, and Cousins better show up. I mean, I don't know if at this point you put Penix in at the end of the season, but they're calling for him down this way. But yeah, they got to win this game. I'm gonna say Atlanta's gonna win this one because I think the Raiders are gonna do everything they can to lose it. So give me Atlanta in an ugly game.
Yeah, give me Atlanta. Kirk Cousins is playing for his job. I legitimately think he is. I think it's Penix next week, which there might be another victory lap in the future because I liked that pick. I
did too.
That I will never fault a team for taking a good quarterback.
I agree.
Especially with a starter 30-something years old coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah, with that roster, yes, I love that.
So, anyway, that's Week 15 in the NFL. No more bye weeks. Set your fantasy lineups accordingly. We'll get back to Patriots Cardinals next here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
The Celtics tip off tonight at 6. Tune in for the call of the game from the Amica Insurance broadcast booth. Amica Insurance, the exclusive auto, home, and life insurance partner of the Boston Celtics. Visit amica.com today to learn more.
Billy Jaffe here. Is your stone foundation in need of repair or waterproofing? Do what I did and call.
regardless of position. And saying that, I think one of the big things as you watch their defense is just versatility. You just don't know where those guys are going to line up. They have, outside linebackers that can drop, outside linebackers that can rush. You have a safety in Buda Baker who he makes the whole engine go. He'll be in the box. He'll blitz off the edge. He also can play in the middle of the field. So a very versatile player, very good player. Going to the linebackers, really Zaven. Zaven's done a good job as an on-the-ball backer. And I would also say Mac Wilson's playing pretty well for him. Just, saying I'm happy for him. He's out there doing a good job. Hopefully not on Sunday.
That was Gerard Mayo's assessment of the Arizona Cardinals this week. The Patriots get ready to take them on 4:25 kickoff, 1:30 pregame here on the Sports Hub. We'll have Kendra Middleton and Mark Dondero up next. They'll take you into pregame with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper. Then Bob and Zoe will have the call again at 4:25 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Celtics later on, coverage at 5:30 on our sister station, 105.7 WROR. Patriots, Cardinals, getting into it, the nitty-gritty, and some of what Gerard Mayo talked about there, I think is an interesting matchup in this game. This Cardinals defense is aggressive. They are aggressive pre-snap. They move guys around. They'll send guys from different places. Pre-snap identification is important. So it's a big test for Drake May. It's a big test for whoever the center is. But Drake May is an aggressive quarterback. He plays the game in an aggressive style. And assuming the offensive line affords him the ability to do so, which I should say if the offensive line affords him the ability to do so, and that's a big if, but if they do, I don't just like this matchup for the Patriots. I like this matchup for Drake May. I got to think he can throw the ball around the field on the Cardinals.
Yeah, you get him indoors. You get him in this situation. A very aggressive team. It's one of those situations where if he reads it, which he's been pretty good at against pressure, it's one of them Pop Douglas type games where it's a quick slant that he recognizes and then Pop takes it 25 yards. So, again, it all comes back down to the offensive line. It's been the same thing all year. But if they can find a way to buy him another half second, I think he has an opportunity here and the opportunity to use his legs a lot. I think if he recognizes it and they overload one side after all that movement and he's able to spring free in there and man behind that, this is when Drake May can take off. Now, they may alter that because they know he can do that, but I think this is a game and a team where he can kind of shine a little bit today. You just got to keep the turnovers down and don't shoot yourself in the foot when it comes to him. Just talking about Drake May when it comes to turning the ball over. The big plays, I think, will be there with his feet and with his arm, and I expect him to put up decent numbers today. Doesn't mean they'll win, but I think he'll put up good numbers.
No, I think he will too. That's kind of how I feel. I don't know that it leads to a win. You mentioned the turnovers. It's an interesting spot because this is the kind of defense that is aggressive when it comes to turnovers. Like this defense is built to take the ball away, not just stop the opposing offense. They did that through the first half of the season. They had 10 turnovers through the first 7 games, at least one in every game. They have 3 turnovers in 6 games total since.
Wow.
So they haven't been turning the ball over. Who's it a get right game for? That's what the question is, right? Like somebody's going to get right. Drake May is going to be able to settle in and not turn the ball over, or the Cardinals are going to, get back at it. But if May can limit that, there will be opportunities for him to create today.
Yeah, and not only opportunities for him, but I think with the way this Cardinals offense has been up and down, I think they've been really inconsistent. We know Murray likes to get out and try and be, he not so much get out in the pocket so he can scramble, but he creates time. He just reminds me of somebody like one of my kids playing Madden. He's just going to get out. He's going to run around in the pocket back there and find somebody open, but he has the arm talent to hit you with that big play. When you think you got him, that's when this 60-yard touchdown comes out of nowhere. So I think you're going to have your opportunities on defense as well to have big plays, which is something I think that's been missing from this team all season. They haven't had the big defensive plays, the interceptions, the fumbles, the pick sixes. We haven't seen that from this team, and I think they'll have their opportunities today against this team. So I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a lot of big plays on both sides of the ball for both of these teams.
You mentioned big plays. So, I'm somebody I hate. I get, sick when somebody gives a ranking, offense or defense ranking based on yards. It's not quite as bad as when they use the analytics, but I don't like, top-ranked offense, and show me where yards are on the scoreboard, and I'll listen to that. No, they put points up there. They put points up there for a reason. So, but usually teams rank about the same. There might be, a number here or two there, one way or the other. But the Cardinals, there's kind of a gap. So they rank 20th in yards defensively, but 13th in points. So what does that illustrate? It's kind of a bend, don't break thing. This, we talk about a get-right game. This Cardinals defense, one thing they do very well, they have the 5th best red zone defense in the NFL. 48%, I'm rounding here a little bit, but 48% of opposing trips to the red zone and in touchdowns. Gerard Mayo has said numerous times over the last 2 weeks, red zone is the focus. Red zone is the emphasis. Both sides of the ball. They need to be better in the red zone offense and defense, but we're just talking Patriots offense right now. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game. I'm with you. I think Drake May is going to get him up and down the field.
Yeah.
This is what's going to decide this game. Can the Patriots finally break through in the red zone against a strong red zone defense?
Yeah. And I think the key to that is going to be the ground game. Ramondre Stevenson. I think they're going to have to be able to run the football. We've talked about this week after week. That balance, man, that balance comes into play when you're in the red zone. You run that play action when you're on the 3, when you got a couple tight ends in the game. Are they going to cave in because they're worried about the run game, or are they going to stay on their man, and all of a sudden now that 3-yard pass is way more difficult than it should be? You have to be balanced. You got to be able to run the football. You got to be willing to stick to the run unless the score gets out of hand. But if you run the football and have that balance, I think it makes you a really good red zone team. And I think that they're missing that running element for a couple months now, it feels. And I think that's the reason why the red zone offense is slipping so badly. I mean, it's unfortunate, but they have to be able to run the football against this team. Any of these games the rest of the way, run the football. It'll make you a better red zone team, make it easier for Drake May on that play action.
I wouldn't mind. You mentioned Ramondre Stevenson. We should be seeing more of Antonio Gibson, too.
Yeah, especially in the pass game, too.
Yeah, his role should increase. So that's Patriots offense. Meanwhile, Cardinals red zone offense, not as good. Is that a chance for the Patriots defense? Let's touch on the other side of the ball. We'll do that next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
What's the best gift for the holidays? The Ski Neshoba gift card. Great for lift ticket, snow tube.
Bow! Bow! Bow!
98.5, the Sports Hub. It's never too early to talk football on Sunday.
Coming to the game on Sunday.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Junior around, now they got him in the slot. Murray's looking for him. Pressure coming, got away from Verse. Still on the move, still on his feet, throws to the end zone. It is caught by Elijah Higgins for the touchdown. Magic from Murray.
Yeah, Kyler can throw that thing around the yard still. Look, I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan as much as some people. I think he's too inconsistent. I don't love the injuries at the quarterback position, if you haven't figured that out about me by now. But when he's healthy, if he gets in the zone, he can throw that thing around. It's Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Kyle Fabrizio back behind the glass. And he's a test for the Patriots. Last time these teams played was that game in Arizona a couple years ago. Didn't get to see a ton of Kyler. He suffered that knee injury in that game. Did Trace McSorley finish that game? Do you remember? We got Cerrone still?
What's his name?
Was it
Colt
McSorley?
McCoy.
Oh, Colt McCoy, that's right.
Colt McCoy.
Whatever's left of Colt McCoy. Finished. He actually wasn't terrible. 27 of 40, 246, no touchdowns and a pick against what that defense was at that time.
Yeah.
It's not bad. But no, they'll face Kyler today. And I think this game, Kyler, James Conner, who's still getting it done. And it was so funny to hear Gerard Mayo and other people this week be like, oh, he's still getting it done. Like, he's still hanging around. Like, he's this old man, Frank Gore back there. And I look it up. James Conner's 29 years old. It makes you think about how we talk about running backs in this league. Like, oh, you know that famous tweet? It's like, and here he comes, the oldest man in the league. He's a fossil, and he's like 32, and it makes him feel old. Like, I think James Conner probably he would have been a year behind me in school.
Yeah.
And I know he had the cancer, and that makes it, that's part of it. And look, good for him for having the career he had. I don't mean to knock James Conner. It's just this 29-year-old AARP member is out here rushing for, but he's been good. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. Like, he's been good. So between James Conner, between Kyler Murray, there's a lot for this defensive front to handle in this game. And we began the show talking about who is going to step up, who is going to prove down the stretch that they're a part of the plan moving forward, that this team can count on them. And I don't think as a unit, any group is set up on the Patriots better for that than the Patriots defensive front. Christian Barmore has now been back for a few games. He's built his way back into football shape. He's now practiced. He's not missing every other practice like he was when he first came back. They added Yannick Ngakoue. He hasn't done anything, he's not a great player, but that's some skill they've added. The linebacker position, it feels like, has finally settled down. It's not great, but they have their answer there. They're not going to come out and be that like Giants NASCAR defense, right? They're not going to be elite. But I actually think they're set up better now than they were for most of the season. Well, today's a test. You got to stop the run game from the Cardinals, and you got to keep Kyler in the pocket, and you got to put pressure on him. I wrote about this on 985thesportshub.com in my 5 things. Kyler Murray this year, look, every quarterback's worse under pressure. I know, hot take. He's not good when he's pressured. Kyler Murray's drop-off under pressure is outpaces the average. His pass rating under pressure, 58.7 this year. That's the third worst among qualified quarterbacks. His passer rating when clean is nearly double that. So they got to contain him, they got to pressure him, and they can't let the run game get going. Can they do it? I mean, we'll see. I think it's a okay matchup for them against the Cardinals' offensive line. But if I'm looking for one group to step up today on the Patriots defense, that's the group. Yeah,
and you mentioned Conner. We're talking about Conner and his 5 yards a carry. I want to say this team as a whole has like 1,800 yards rushing when you add them all up.
They're one of the better rushing teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's been a thing that's hurt this Patriots team a lot during the season. There's teams that run the ball, that are consistent with running the ball, and can do it in multiple ways. And this is a big play rushing offense. Murray has over almost 500 yards on the ground, four or five touchdowns or something like that on the ground. We all know about his foot speed, and he gets lost, with that size. His size can be a disadvantage at times. Other times it can be an advantage because he gets lost back there, and then he just pops out, and there he is 20 yards downfield running out of bounds. So you have to contain him. You have to contain that ground game and get them in obvious passing situations. And I think that's where his quarterback rating tends to plummet. And this team has been, they'll get 28, 29 points one week, and next week it's like they got like 13. They're real inconsistent, but it's all about that their front line issues when you get pressure on Murray, and that offense doesn't look nowhere near the same. They've had some pretty bad offensive performances recently, and you have to continue that trend. And don't let them, like you mentioned earlier, don't let them get right. Don't let this be the game where they find their rhythm, they find their groove, and get balanced against you. So you have to take something away, and I think where it starts is the ground game. You make them a one-dimensional pass team. The big plays are going to be there for you. If not the big plays, get them out, a quick 3 and out. Get your offense back on the field and give them the ball back in any way you possibly can. And I think you can do that by taking away the ground game. You need a big game from Barmore, Keon White.
Yep.
And with Peppers being back, you need guys the stumpers back there that are stopping the run. So I think that's a big key to this game, is taking away the run game.
Quick correction: Connor's averaging 4 yards a carry. The team is averaging 5. That's why I had that number in my head. But Connor's been good.
That's a good number for a team.
That is a good number for a team. And Trey Benson, the backup running back, has contributed as well. He's been solid. In the passing game, we kind of talked about him earlier. Marvin Harrison Jr., him and Christian Gonzalez. That should be the matchup. Yeah. That's going to be really fun to watch. Those two guys go at it.
It is, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to watching Marvin Harrison, and you should be too as fans. I mean, like we mentioned, a lot of you guys wanted him. You wanted him. Don't try and change it up now. You want the Patriots to take him.
We took the calls. We can go back and find the calls. They're there. We took the calls,
and not just you. Think about the guys who were on all week. They got it. They got the calls.
Yeah. We the station, I'm saying, took the calls.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But no, I have the tweets. I have the people. How can you want a quarterback? Look at all these guys that bust. Look at all. How can you not want? They've needed a receiver for years. I heard it from all of you.
Generational talent.
Generational talent.
That's all right. We kept hearing.
How
generational
can you pass
receiver.
On a generational talent? Because Drake May doesn't look like he might be generational, by the way. But anyway.
Anyway. So that's going to be fun to watch. And Gonzalez doesn't have to completely erase him. That'd be great if he does. But just minimize, again, the big play. Murray scrambling around. There's Harrison streaking down the sideline. You don't want that. One big play to break you. We've seen that so many times this season. I think, with him being able to take him out of it makes it easier for the defense. And look, coming off a bye, 2 weeks to prepare for this team, call me crazy. I have high expectations in this game today. I think they play a good game. I think they play a good game on both sides of the ball. And I think it's a winnable opportunity for them because the Cardinals, they're just trying to figure things out. They're fighting for their lives right now, under pressure. They're trying to figure things out. I think the Patriots playing a little loose, knowing they're not making the playoffs, might have an opportunity to steal this game.
So I think it's a competitive game, too. I don't know the Patriots win, but I think this is going to be close. The number was 6.5. I certainly think the Patriots cover that. But Deshaun in Virginia thinks maybe not so much. Deshaun, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. I know I do not. I actually have this game being a blowout. I can basically tell you, the obvious reason why. People have to understand that just because they look at these teams play badly sometimes against these other teams have better talent than we do. They also can pressure the quarterback better than we can. The Patriots don't get any pressure. And one thing you don't want when you're facing a screaming quarterback like him, and is not be able to get pressure on him because he's going to start to cook when you can't get pressure on him. So that's going to be one of the reasons why I think they're going to get blown out in this game. And it's not going to be close. Somebody the Jets went down there and got blown out, and they have much better talent than we do. So let that sink in for a moment.
Sorry, Deshaun. Good call. No, if they can't get pressure on Kyler Murray, yeah, it's going to be a long day. I gave you the number there. He is. Every quarterback is better when they're in a clean pocket, but Kyler Murray especially. They can't give him time today.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say, only pushback I would have is this team, for some reason, doesn't get really blown out badly. Because they hang around. The Patriots, for some reason, Yeah, you've seen the big plays when they played the Rams. Came down to one score. So many games came down to one possession with this team. And the only game I really felt like they got blown out was the Niners game earlier in the season. But other than that, I don't see them getting blown out by anybody. Now, can Murray have a good game? Yes. But I think they hang around within a touchdown or so most of this game. And it's going to come down to the mistakes, a tip pass, a strip sack, or something like that. One of the running backs put the ball on the ground, anything. I think that's what it's going to come down to. But I don't see them getting blown out by anybody, possibly maybe one of those Bills games. But other than that, I don't think they get blown out in this game, even if they lose.
All right, let's close it out with some calls here. Jeff in Rhode Island on Bill Belichick, who we talked about earlier. Jeff.
Hey, good morning, guys. As a 49ers fan, yes, feel free to talk about Kyle Shanahan all you want. But
love it. Hang on. You hear that? The Niners fans are ready. So Shanahan, khaki pants, tight pants people, Evan Lazar, the Niners fans are ready. When are you ready? Tell me. Let me know.
I'm ready. I'm ready for a change. My question is Bill Belichick and the timing of his decision. My belief is that I'm assuming his team did their homework and figured that there are no NFL openings. But my curiosity is, you have teams like I said, the 49ers, the Cowboys. Say if something Philadelphia just loses in the first round of the playoffs, weren't all of those teams possibilities? Have these teams just decided that they don't want to go that route because they don't want to give that control? And is it North Carolina just gave him everything he wanted? Because, these other teams, some of these NFL teams, the Niners, the Cowboys, Eagles are, I guess if you want to say, ready to win.
Yeah, good question, Jeff. Why not wait it out for some of these playoff teams, obviously, that don't have an opening now but might? I'd throw the Bills on that list. I think if they don't get it done this year, Sean McDermott's seat is hot, and the Bills had been talked about as, for Bill Belichick, a potential landing spot. My guess would be they weighed the pros and cons, and if you wait and you don't get a job from those teams, now you're probably not even getting a college job.
Yeah.
Now you're a second year out of coaching entirely, and that to me is a worst case scenario. That is worse than not going to coaching, and then going to college. Now at least he's back with a job coaching. He's still going to do media stuff, but it's not media Bill anymore, full on. So
and the I'm not sure the dates. You might know this better than me, Alex. The whole transfer portal stuff. I think it was a timing thing with that, because if you wait, now all the players are gone and they pick their new schools. And you're starting with this current UNC team, which was not in a good shape. So I think you had to hurry up and make your decision when it comes to picking a college team.
I'm going to guess UNC would have just hired somebody else at that point. I think Tommy Rees was reported the next candidate. I don't think he would have. There would have been a college willing to wait to hire him, because you just you can't at that point. You can't at that rate. So, and here's the thing I think people maybe aren't considering, and maybe I'm not even thinking this. Do I think Bill Belichick would prefer to be back in the NFL? Yes, I do. I do. I think if it were up to him, he would have an NFL job. I do buy some of he was always interested in coaching college football.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's disgusted with the idea of being a college coach. If an NFL team called him today, would he bolt? Yeah, probably. But that wasn't coming, and I think he probably weighed the pros and cons of it and said, if I wait for San Francisco, which San Francisco should have made the move last year, and they were a Dan Campbell choke job away, I think, from that being a real conversation. If San Francisco or Dallas or Philly or Buffalo or one of these teams makes the move and we still don't get it, again, now you're on the outside looking in for a second year in a row, and it's going to be really hard to get back in 2 years out. Now at least he's coaching. He has a product on the field. He, as dumb as this sounds, I hate to make this comparison with the greatest coach of all time, but they always tell you never want to have too big of a gap on your resume. You don't want to leave too much of a gap because people are going to wonder what's going on. Now at least he doesn't have a gap on the resume. So that would be my guess as to why he didn't wait for the playoff teams. And
he took care of everybody around him. Everybody, his whole crew.
Yeah.
Everybody's in good shape. I took care of everybody. We're good. Legacy is set. Family set. My buddies are all working. We're all good. He wasn't going to get that in the NFL. Lombardi wasn't coming with him to be the GM wherever he went. No. So he go to Dallas. He ain't going to be the GM in Dallas.
Part of the reason he didn't get the Atlanta job last year, reportedly.
Yeah. So, he got what he wanted. He's in a good situation where he can win some games and get Gatorade dumped on him and carry it off the field. And he loves football in general. So I don't think it's that big of a downgrade. Look, I think he'd have more fun coaching UNC than the Carolina Panthers. That's just my opinion. But
I kind of agree with you. I think he's going to sneaky enjoy college football.
Yes, and I think it's a good spot, and it's good for everybody around it. We would love to see him break the record, yeah, but that's our personal reasons. For him, I think this might be better long-term when it comes to financial and taking care of his family, his people.
All right, as we wrap it up here, we got Kendra Middleton, Mark Tindaro standing by. They'll take you up to Patriots pregame at 1:30 with Jim Murray and Chris Gasper. Bob and Zoe have the call at 4:25 from Glendale. Who you got today, Cerrone? Let's get the picks.
I think the Patriots off a bye week. I think they get one. I think it might be their last one of the season, but I think they get one today. I think they have a pretty good game, a pretty impressive game. Not so much like the Bears game defensively, but I think they get a good enough game and turn the mistakes down a little bit just because of that bye. And I think for a 1 week, they give us something to kind of smile about. So I think they win this one in Arizona, they've been shaky. They've been up and down. I can't really trust them to not lay an egg here in this situation. So give me the Patriots to win this one.
I think this is going to be their highest scoring game of the year. So they scored 24 against the Colts last week. Their highest 25 against the Jets in that win with Jacoby Brissett. I think Drake May is one of his best games of the year. I think he builds on that Colts game. I think it's their highest scoring game of the year. And I think they lose a close one. I just think Kyler Murray makes one more play. It was a good point by Deshaun of Virginia earlier. I don't think they're going to be able to get enough consistent pressure on Murray, especially if he's going down the field late in the game. I think it's probably going to look similar to what that Colts game looked like.
The Colts game, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a similar game to that. I think we're going to come away, broken record here, feeling really good about Drake May. And maybe not so great about the rest of it, but I'll
Covington
little higher scoring. I'll say, all right. Well, I said it's going to be the highest scoring game of the year, so I got to go above 25. Give me 28-25. No, that's Patriots 25. Give me 30-28 Cardinals.
30. About 31-28. Chad Ryland with the game-winning field goal.
There you go. All right. 31-28 Cardinals. Chad Ryland walks it off. Boy, would that be something. That'll do it for us on this week's Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. If you missed any of the show, you want to revisit it, it's available, Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find it on the Sports Hub YouTube channel, which you should be subscribed to. We'll have a new Sports Hub Patriots podcast there tomorrow, myself and Matt Dolph. We'll also have coverage of the game on 98.5thesportshub.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Cerrone is Cerrone_battle. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Patriots-Bills, 1-2. What a fun way to end the season. I'll talk to everybody then. Kyle Fabrizio, great job as always. Kendra Middleton, Mark Tindaro coming up next. Bye.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
This is Shaw Grande, voice of the Celtics. Tune in tonight at 6 for Star Market Celtics Tonight and check out the Star Market app. Earn rewards, save on your groceries and gas with Star Market for you. Download the Star Market app today. Go shop.